test scores for now the band. But you say 2 more or less, make sure they pass some tests, and we'll be alright. When I'm there working with kids.
Gracious and most holy Father, our God who is above all, through all, and in all, the sustainer of every living creature, we acknowledge you and we thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed on each of us. If ever there were a time that we really needed you, that time is now. We have come here this evening to discuss serious issues that affect all of us. Many are standing together to say, enough is enough. Touch the hearts and minds of all of those that will make decisions concerning the future of not only our dedicated and hardworking teachers, but our children who will feel the impact also. Moved by your mighty powers, breathe on us tonight. We thank you. Amen.
Hi, welcome. It's good to see all of you here. My name's Margaret Butler, and I'm the director of Portland Jobs with Justice, and I want to tell you a little bit about our organization and about our Workers' Rights Board project before I turn it over to our panel chair for the evening. I staff our Workers' Rights Board project. Jobs with Justice is a coalition of 64 unions and community groups working together in a campaign for workers' rights. And the basis of our organization is this pledge card that says, I'll be there 5 times a year to support someone else's struggle. If enough of us come out to support each other, workers have a better shot. So if you're a Jobs with Justice pledger and you didn't get a chance to sign in, please be sure and do that. And if you would like to sign the Jobs with Justice pledge and commit 5 hours a year to helping out other workers, you have a chance now, and there are people in the aisles who can give you a pledge card. The Workers' Rights Board project is a very exciting project for me. We built a Workers' Rights Board, a group of 60 community leaders who are willing to use their moral authority and a little bit of their time to assist workers when there are situations that need a public light shown on them. So the Workers' Rights Board is not neutral. It is independent of the labor movement, but it has a particular perspective. The people on our Workers' Rights Board share a commitment to workplace justice and a broad commitment to that. So we're really grateful to our panel members for agreeing to hear the testimony tonight and think about it and assist in this particular situation. I want to speak personally for a minute. I'm a parent of an 8-year-old, a 2nd grader at Bridger Elementary School, and I volunteer in the classroom on a regular basis. So this particular crisis is really disturbing to me. The funding crisis, the ever-shrinking school year, every part of it is deeply disturbing. I'm a product of the Portland Public Schools myself. I absolutely believe in public education. I want to fight for a good funding solution for all of us, but I also believe very deeply that teachers' rights need to be respected, and that by doing this hearing teachers' voices, shining a public light on this situation, we can maybe make a difference in helping move towards a solution. Let's see, I did want to say that almost every other forum you will find is actually biased against workers. That's why we created the Workers' Rights Board. We wanted a community institution where workers' stories could be told and workers' voices could be heard. We have translation. We have Spanish translation available. If anyone needs it, headsets are out at the registration table. Now I'd like to introduce my friend Diane Rosenbaum, who will chair our panel for tonight. She's the state representative from District 42 in Southeast Portland, and she's been a tireless fighter for the rights of all workers, especially those at the lowest end of the scale, leading 2 successful fights to raise the minimum wage. We're very happy to have her on the panel tonight.
you, Margaret, and it's my great pleasure to chair this panel of the Workers' Rights Board. You know, my district includes not only Southeast Portland, but a little of Northeast Portland, and so we are actually sitting in District 42 here at Benson High School, so it's especially meaningful for me to be here tonight. I want to introduce the other members of the panel. We have a remarkable group that's gathered to hear the testimony tonight. And starting on my left is Jonah Edelman. Jonah is the Executive Director of Stand for Children, which is a national organization supporting children and families. They work on funding for children's programs, improving access to and quality of childcare and other children's issues. And here locally, they worked as the Executive Director of Oregon NARAL. Please welcome Kathleen Sullivan. And to my right is another old friend, Dick Springer. Dick is a parent and a former state legislator who has stood up over his career for adequate funding of schools and for workers' rights. He has 2 children who attend Cleveland High School. Please welcome Dick Springer. Our next panel member is Joseph Tam, and Joseph is a former member of the Portland School Board and is a current civil rights investigator with the Bureau of Labor and Industries. Joseph also is a parent of children who graduated from the Portland Public Schools. And our final panel member is Reverend Lynn Smouse Lopez. Lynn is a pastor of Ainsworth United Church of Christ, which is a multicultural, welcoming church community in Northeast Portland. She's also a parent of Portland Public Schools children and a former teacher. Please welcome Lynn. It's my belief that this hearing is of extreme importance, and in fact, I think there is no more important situation going on now in the community of Portland than getting a resolution to the situation of the teachers and a successful conclusion to the bargaining with the Portland School District. You know, we have a very, very remarkable and precious gift in our community in having a public school system that still has over 90% of our children in public school. To my knowledge, there is no city the size of Portland that comes anywhere close to having achieved this. It is indeed something for the community to be very proud of, and it's remarkable that we've been able to hold on to it in a time of horrible budget problems and real underfunding of our school system, and we have only done it by remarkable efforts by teachers, by parents, by volunteers, by a whole community, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. And I truly believe we are at a crossroads in being able to maintain the quality of education and the fabric that holds our community together. So we really want to hear the voices of the people that are most affected by this situation. First of all, the teachers, whose remarkable hard work keeps the system going, incredible odds, and we want to hear their voices about this dispute. We also want to hear from the parents and the children that are affected by this, and we want to hear how it feels from sitting in a school system that is barely able to hold itself together. We also have tonight with us 3 members of the Portland School Board, and we're very pleased that they chose to join us tonight. I want to just take a moment to recognize the school board members that have joined us. We have Mark Abrams, who's here. We also have Julia Grimm-Edwards, who has joined us. And we have Sue Hagmeyer, and Sue will be speaking to us in a little while as one of our presenters, and we're very glad to have Sue here today. I also think it's extremely important, given the gravity of what we're dealing with, that all of our witnesses tonight are listened to, are treated with dignity and respect, and that we preserve the atmosphere that we want these negotiations to continue in. So I will begin by introducing our first witness, and we will, the panel will be listening to the testimony, then we will have a period of question and answer when we've heard from all of the witnesses. Our first presenter tonight is Steve Palumbo. Steve is a teacher.
My name is Steve Palumbo. I'm a middle school math teacher at Gregory Heights. I've been a Portland teacher for 27 years. And I'm very honored to be here to speak on behalf of Portland teachers. And we're very honored to have you consider what we have to say. In the next few days, Portland teachers will be asked to make perhaps the most important professional decision we will ever make. Our choice will affect not only us, but those who follow us far into the future, our community and Portland Public Schools as we have come to know them. Last May, Portland teachers presented a very modest contract proposal, a cost of living increase, and some improvement in language. The board's proposal, on the other hand, called for radical changes in our contract and demanded rollbacks in salary and benefits. The Portland Teachers Bargaining Team has made significant movement, a sincere attempt to reach a settlement, a salary freeze, a 9-day cut, and a return to current language in most areas. The board, on the other hand, has hardly budged from its initial proposal and has, in fact, demanded even more concessions. It has on the table a 2-year salary schedule freeze. What was once a 9-day cut in school year and in pay has grown to 24 days, and an insurance cap and myriad language items. As you consider your recommendation, please keep the following things in mind. Teachers have made sacrifices to help deal with the funding crisis and keep Portland schools a place people want to send their children. Portland teachers have given. In 1994, we took another salary freeze to help the district out of difficult financial times. That amounted to about $2.3 million. In 1995, we suspended sabbaticals, which is about a $1 million benefit. We reduced personal leave. We gave directly to the district from Health and Welfare Trust reserves $8 million. We suspended tuition reimbursement. We suspended professional development. In 1998, we eliminated sabbaticals altogether, a $1.2 million savings for the district. In 1998 also, we reduced early retirement benefits. We have surveys that show that the average Portland teacher works more than 50 hours a week. And we also know that each teacher spends a minimum of $500 out of pocket for materials and supplies. Portland teachers have foregone salary increases to maintain benefits. In 1991, we had the 3rd highest base salary in the metro area. In 2002, 2003, we have the lowest. Had we maintained our starting salary ranking, the district would have paid more than $25 million in increased payroll costs this year alone. Even with our current health plan, the district has saved more than $19 million this year in total compensation. In fact, take any other metro area's starting salary above ours, which they all are, and the district has cost savings despite our benefit package. Please keep in mind that with the exception of Gresham Barlow, which is not yet settled, no other Metro 14 school district teacher will be taking a salary freeze this year. If Portland teachers accept the board's economic package, the freeze, the 24-day cut, and the $600 insurance cap, a teacher who is an educator with a master's degree plus 45 and on step 14 would have agreed to a 16.06 reduction in total compensation. If you're a teacher with a master's degree on step 14, you have agreed to about a 16.56 cut in pay. And if you are a beginning teacher, you have agreed to reduce your compensation by more than 20%. If you factor in the increased out-of-pocket expenses for insurance co-pays, the percentage in lost compensation grows, and in some cases quite considerably. If we accept the board's proposal on insurance, Portland teachers may never climb out of the cellar of lowest wages and reduced benefits. Besides the economic concessions, the board's offer contains proposals that remove or restrict teachers' rights and change our working conditions. As you consider your recommendation, please remember this. The district's proposal of the elimination of maintenance of standards clause would allow the district to change any working conditions not specified in the contract. This change could result in constant bargaining and eliminate a teacher's right to grieve unilateral changes. The board's proposal would eliminate just cause in matters of dismissal. It would remove the right to arbitrate dismissal or non-extension. In terms of transfer, the board's proposal streamlines the district's ability to do what it wants, when it wants, to whomever it wants. Teachers would have limited rights to apply for vacancies with no advantage over new hires. There would be no criteria to determine who could be unassigned from a site or a program in the event of a program change or loss of FTE. Persons could be involuntarily transferred at any time for any reason. The board's proposal and layoff and reduction in staff allows the district to use subject within an area of endorsement to determine competence. Thus, if a teacher has an endorsement in social studies but hasn't taught world history in the last 5 years, he or she would not be deemed competent to teach world history. Therefore, a senior social studies teacher could be laid off before a first-year teacher who taught 1 period of world history. The board's proposal eliminates the right to use tuition reimbursement for retraining, a provision bargained 4 years ago. It allows the district to lay off the entire bargaining unit for any length of time. It adds educational attainment as a definition of competence and adds the ability to speak a second language as such an attainment. Therefore, a person who has a second language skills could be retained over a person who doesn't, even if the job does not require the second language. The board's proposal caps retiree health insurance at $205 a month now and eliminates it completely if you do not retire before July 1, 2007. It eliminates the early retirement stipend in 2005. Their proposal caps tuition reimbursement, now currently figured at the PSU rate. It allows site councils to determine who receives professional improvement funds. Further, it empowers the councils to determine whether a teacher can even use professional days and limits them to 2. Moreover, their proposal allows site councils to implement a decision without staff support. The board's proposal allows the district to unilaterally increase teachers' workload. It reduces members' options in time and compensation for writing and conferencing concerning IEPs and other plans, something that works for students and works for parents. It reduces the work year for librarians and counselors without any reduction in workload. And these are just some of the regressive changes. As you decide in this matter, please think about the following questions, because we as teachers are. If the board's proposal becomes Portland teachers' contract, will Portland Public Schools be able to attract and retain the quality teachers our community deserves? Will decisions be made at the school level by persons most affected and most likely to affect improvement and growth? Will Portland schools be a place people will want to send their children? I thank you for your time and commitment.
Our next presenter is Teresa Ferrer. Teresa is a parent. Teresa, would you like to come forward?
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by, first of all, telling you how much I appreciate the panel being here and listening to all of the testimony, and also appreciate the commitment of all of you who are here tonight. I think it's going to take all of our hands together, our hearts and our minds to come to a resolution, and I dearly hope that we do that. So thank you for your participation. My name is Teresa Ferrer, and I am a mother of 2 sons that attend Wilson High School. And before moving to Portland 4 years ago, my children attended school in Florence, a little tiny town on the coast, and Salem, Oregon. So I have always remained fiercely proud of the public school system in this state, as I believe many of you have as well. And now my oldest son at Wilson is facing a graduation year that is the shortest in the country and could end in a tragic and devastating teacher strike. I'm testifying tonight because I do not want to see the Portland Public Schools crippled beyond repair. And I want to appeal to the common interests of all of us who are gathered here tonight and find ourselves engaged in this horrific crisis. And I believe it is horrific for Portland and for the state of Oregon because we're that important to the state. What we share in common in this difficult time, of course, is our students. It's not only our sons and our daughters who are attending Portland schools right now, but all of the children who will be attending Portland Public Schools in the future as well. And we need to carefully, very carefully, consider what the unintended consequences and future ramifications of any decisions that are made will be. And what seems amazing to me in this frenzy to cope with a funding crisis, and indeed it is a funding crisis that we have to cope with, is that the school district is cutting off its own life's blood. Staff will be cut, not just teachers, but all staff will be cut. Programs will be cut, salaries will be cut, benefits will be cut, days will be cut, contractual agreements will be cut, which really speaks to working conditions and school conditions for our children. Schools will be closed, all to save money to operate the system. Now, excuse me, perdóname, but what system will remain standing? If you were to ask the students and their families in Portland to identify one thing that makes schools great in Portland, and I want to thank you, Representative Rosenbaum, because you are absolutely right. I travel around this country, and I am so proud of our public school system in the state, but particularly in this city. And if you ask those parents that question, you're going to get one answer over and over again, and that's the teachers. Special activities and the kinds of visions we have for learning in children in Portland Public Schools are wonderful, absolutely wonderful, but it is the staff person, it is the teacher that's on the front lines with those students every day that really is the lifeblood of the system. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. We understand that, we know that. So please hear this. It is the teachers and their ability to have a living wage and to have equitable working conditions that will lead the Portland Public Schools into the future. We know that. We understand that at a gut level. You will not be able to survive the same flight that we have witnessed in other urban school districts if you plan to devastate that lifeblood, which I truly believe is happening here. You simply need to look at the history of other urban school districts, if you dare, to see that if we accept this contract proposal as written, we will drive out our good teachers. We will lose our lifeblood. So tonight, I'm not appealing to our sense of fairness. I'm appealing to our sense of survival. So regardless of how the district maneuvers and manipulates the numbers around to keep that system operating, we have to be careful not to open this main artery if we hope to survive. Our district, like all other districts in the state, this is a very hard time for our state, is faced with fiscal sacrifices that will be difficult to bear. And believe me, as a parent, I understand that we are faced with finally having to get what we are willing to pay for. And that's a sad thing. we cannot, as a district, we need to hold hands here, we cannot make enemies where the enemies are not found. The enemies are not here, folks. We cannot be short-sighted, we cannot be self-destructive in our zeal. And we must take a very hard, a very deliberate look at the entire system. And I don't think we've done that. And I think the future of our school district depends upon the wisdom of the choices that we make. And we need to be wise at this time in our history. And I think this is a historical moment. I want to end by taking this opportunity to personally thank every educator who is present in this room tonight. And I know there are many of you because you all love Steve. And the resounding success stories of public schools throughout this state, throughout Oregon, are a direct result of your efforts and your commitment and dedication to our children. We have come to expect so much from you in a time of very diminishing return. It is my hope that the citizens of Oregon will wake up to the responsibility of adequate and stable school funding so that you can do what you do best. So thank you for my boys and for all the students that you work with every day.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Next, we will hear from Sue Hagmeyer. Sue is one of the members of the Portland School Board. Sue, please join us.
I want to say, and I'm not going to do a point by point of any of the other testimony that's happened so far, but first thing I want to say is that we are all underdogs here. I believe that everybody in this room believes in public institutions, believes in the people who need them, believes in the people who work for them, and along with all of us who earn a living by doing work rather than by other people's work are in this boat together. We are all, and to mix metaphors a little bit, we are all underdogs in this. For a little bit of history that I know you all know, the Portland School Board didn't just have its taxing authority limited by Measure 5, it had it eliminated by Measure 5. And frankly, I would be more nervous to be here if I were Diane than me, because she has 1/90th of some taxing authority, and I have 1/7 of zero taxing authority. 1/7 of zero ability to influence the resources we have to work with. I just want to drive home the point that we are all underdogs together in this. I think I'll go through a few of the items in the contract proposal, but not in great detail. But what worries me about this kind of a presentation is that, as you all know, sometimes when you try to simplify a complicated subject, you end up falsifying it, and that's what worries me about superficial discussions about this. First of all, the salary proposal is embarrassing. I make no bones about that. It's mortifying to me to deliver a message that, well, first of all, I believe that, well, I would wish for a state that would express its values through how it uses its resources. We don't have that right now. That's what's embarrassing about proposing a contract that has a salary cut, for crying out loud. And I don't defend that, but I do defend the fact that we don't have the authority to raise additional resources on our own in the Portland School District. And probably the three main items of discussion are that the salary proposal. Again, that's embarrassing. Benefits. Benefits are a very complicated subject. I encourage you to look critically at it, not to take any of our words for it. because you need to understand that the Portland School Board, the Portland School District does not by itself determine how those benefits are structured for you. And so the Health and Welfare Trust that is half employee representatives needs to look at what they can do, what kind of benefits they can buy for the resources we have. We believe that we can do a lot better that we can get similar benefits for much less money than we do so far. And if that's the case, we should not be spending the money that way. So I just don't hope that you'll look at that critically and not just not take anybody's word for it. And then the third big item, I think, is what's known as Article 10. And that is not just about transfer. It's about hiring, assignment, and transfer. And it's critically important that when we hire the next generation of teachers, which could be teaching our children for the next 30 years, that we hire the very best. And right now, we have a hiring system that puts us at a great disadvantage.
Please, let's be respectful and listen to the witness.
We hire far too late in the year right now. We have to be able to hire your future colleagues in a more effective way than we do now. That's one of the most important parts of that article to us. The other important part is that, frankly, we have too much turnover in some of our schools. That's an important thing to us because it doesn't influence rich and poor alike in this city. And it's too much to ask for certain neighborhoods to continue to have unstable faculties in their schools. And that's the other important part of that to us. So again, I want to say that we are in this together. Those who need public institutions, those who work for public institutions, and those institutions themselves, and that means all of us. And I hope that we look at all of these issues critically and look for the primary sources and read things yourself and make your own decisions.
And next we'll hear from Rob Melton. Rob is also a teacher. Rob?
Thank you. My name is Rob Melton. I'm a teacher with 24 years of experience, the last 19 in Portland Public Schools. My testimony tonight is about how the district has changed in that time and why my family and I can't live with the contract the district is proposing. I want you to know, first of all, that we have a lot in common. I live in Portland with my wife of 25 years and our 3 children, all products of Portland Public Schools. My 22-year-old daughter attended Lincoln and she is a senior at University of Oregon, majoring in German and science. She'd like to be a teacher someday. Our 19-year-old son who had went to Wilson just moved to California because he can't find work here. And I have a 15-year-old son right here at Benson, where I teach, who I'm concerned about because the district has proposed cutting almost half of his vocational teachers from next year's budget. My wife, a Grant graduate, is an interior architect and has been looking for work for more than a year. I was recruited to Portland 19 years ago. I went from being one of the lowest paid teachers in the state of Oregon to one of the highest. At that time, Portland hired only experienced teachers. They hired the best teachers money could buy. Yet they realized it takes more than that to attract and retain good teachers. The district made sure that class sizes were reasonable and that budgets were in place to support the classroom. They bought new textbooks regularly. Portland knew how to get the most out of us. You couldn't have asked for better working conditions. We did amazing things. People cared. Over the last 10 years, as my children grew up and became teenagers, my salary did not keep up with the cost of living. I gave up step increases, tuition reimbursement, took salary freezes, and more during the best economic times we've ever seen in this state. Therefore, my family's budget is based only on my full year's salary. I am the sole income earner, and my family depends on me. Every month, I pay the mortgage, loans on 2 second-hand cars, and a line of credit. I pay electric, water, garbage bills, insurance on the house and 2 cars. Then, out of what's left, I pay for food, gas, telephone, medical bills, prescriptions, school loans, home repair, and a movie every now and then, nothing extravagant. Now the district wants to take even that away from my family. I did the math last week to see how the district's proposed 24-day layoff would affect my family. When I looked at the bottom line, I was shocked at the price the district thinks my family should have to pay. It equals a lack of respect for teachers and their families, for students, for equity, and for just plain common sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you take the district's layoff proposal at face value, here's how much they value their employees and their families. In April, the district plans to deduct so much money from my paycheck that I won't even have enough money after paying my fixed monthly bills to pay for my family's food, or clothing, or gas, or even for bus tickets so I can get to school to teach, among other things. I hope my son, at least, will qualify for free breakfast and lunch that month because he's a growing boy. Now, fortunately, my paycheck is back to normal in May, but I won't even get a paycheck in June. The district plans to deduct all 19 layoff days from my June 30th paycheck at my daily rate, and I'll still owe them another $1,000 out of my July 30th paycheck. April, June, and July will be hungry months for the Melton household under the district's plan. If you don't believe me, read it yourself on the district's website. Does this sound like competent human resources management to you? To leave employees and their families without basic necessities such as food, transportation, and shelter for 3 separate months? This is the best the district can do for our highly educated, talented workforce? I think we can do better. This is too much to ask of the district's employees and our families and of our students and of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Our next witness is Dana Flores. Dana?
Hello. My name is Dana Flores, and I teach 7th grade language arts and social studies at Binsmead Middle School in Southeast Portland. I am here this evening because I am too angry to remain silent, and I'm angry because I feel I've been swindled. 3 years ago, my husband, Rolando, who's a teacher at Irvington Elementary, and I were lured here by Portland Public Schools' reputation, along with the promise of owning a home in one of the country's most livable cities. We gave up our jobs in Seattle Public Schools because we could no longer afford to live and teach in the same city, and we desperately wanted to buy a house. So we packed our things and headed south to Portland for the opportunity to teach in one of the best urban districts in the nation, and thanks to a program with the district and the credit union, we're able to purchase our first home. Now, with the contract that is laid out in front of us, we are faced with the following choices: selling our home, leaving Portland Public, or abandoning our teaching careers altogether. For starters, I do not want to sell the home that we have been working on for the past 2.5 years. We are planning on starting a family this summer and have done everything in our power to get our Northeast Portland home ready for children, as well as all the grandparents and other relatives who will be on their first plane from New York to help. Secondly, neither one of us wants to teach in the suburbs. We came here to save the world and are skilled at creating classroom environments that inner city kids thrive in. Just look at the evaluations we have received from our principals. We are both excellent teachers who are extremely successful with students who have difficulty elsewhere. Last week, a sibling of a former student of mine, whom I'll refer to as Jake, approached me in the hall with news of her brother. Jake had wanted me to know how well he was doing in high school, and to quote his sister, he's doing even better than I am. 3 years ago, Jake was a student in perhaps the most difficult class I've encountered in my 5 years of teaching. He was behind his peers academically, and behaviorally, he was what most people would consider a handful. For 2 hours every day, however, Jake was a positive, active, important part of my classroom, and believe me, it did not start out that way. I nearly used up every trick in the book to find a way to reach this student. While Jake's homework continued to come in sporadically, he still managed to become one of the hardest working people in my classroom. When Jake was kicked out of class, after class, it was my room he was sent to. He became my teacher's assistant, and at times it felt as though I were the only one advocating on his behalf. He got a taste of success, and his peers got the chance to see him in a new light, and I know that I was the difference. At Binsmead, I have been working hard with my principal, John Hines, to change the culture of the school and to turn it into a stronger, safer place where all kids can achieve, and I know my husband does the same for his community. We are respected by our peers and assume leadership roles in our buildings. We want to stay where we are. As for leaving teaching altogether, that would be the biggest shame. Rolando and I are finishing up our master's degrees because we have always intended on being teachers forever. Besides being good at it, we both love it. We have chosen to take a pay cut to pursue careers in public education, but derive much of our energy and a large part of our identities from being outstanding teachers. To us, as it is to many of our colleagues, being teachers is not just what we do, it's who we are. I am not exaggerating when I say that we cannot afford the salary freeze, 12.6% loss of pay due to 24 fewer days of school, and the nearly $400 a month our benefits will cost us if they are capped. Nor can we afford the demoralization, abuse, disrespect, and fear that our employers are handing us. Our thoughts these days no longer center on saving the world, but on saving ourselves. I demand a livable contract. I demand a future, the future I came here for, in Portland Public Schools. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to have a voice.
Thank you, Dana. Next, we will hear from Carol Palumbo. Carol, would you come forward, please?
Good evening. I'm Carol Ingersoll Palumbo. I'm a product of Portland Public Schools. My children attended, and my grandchildren currently attend Portland Public Schools. My life has been dedicated to this school system as a student, a volunteer, a parent, and as a 30-year employee. Over the years, I have seen and been impacted by the many changes this district has gone through, from the neighborhood K-8 school to the middle school model, busing, magnets, one district to 3 areas and back again, curriculum changes that have gone full circle several times, but I have never lost the love of wanting to teach in Portland Public Schools. Oak Alley is a beautiful plantation in Louisiana. You have seen it in Mercedes commercials and in the remake of the Paul Newman movie, The Barn Burning. What you do not see is the garden on the side of the house where the slaves walked from the kitchen to the dining room carrying trays of food to their masters. This walk is called a whistle walk because the slaves were required to whistle to ensure that they did not eat any of the food. Teachers have given up sabbaticals, salary for benefits, leaves, and contractual language. The constant verbal and mental abuse of teachers as public employees began several years ago and has escalated as the desire for us to carry the burden of school district on our backs. Though this problem has been going on for a while, we are also taxpayers, but people don't seem to see that. And that is why I use the analogy of the whistle walk. Public school teachers are the last defenders of the ideal of the democracy called public education. It is time to stand up, united together, and demand what is right for teachers. For when teachers stand up, they are standing up for their students. We must demand that is right, that we receive the appropriate pay for the work that we do. Enough is enough, and too much has been asked of us so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next, we'll hear from Elaine Jinks-Kuhn. Elaine?
My name is Barry Gordon. This is my wife, Jinx Keene. And we're very pleased to have the opportunity to testify, and we want to thank you for listening. And it often seems like nobody really cares, and you just go on doing what you're doing, and there's no response. So, I've told you our names. We should say we have a daughter named Laulea. She has attended Portland Public Schools since the 1st grade. She's currently a freshman at Grant High School. We could afford to send our child to private school, but we refuse to do that. To us, public schools are a fundamental part of democracy, and we will not give them up. We have seen cuts in teachers and school programs ever since our daughter started to school. We have been the ones to console her when she cried because her computer teacher was laid off. And they do this. And it's something that the members of the school board need to think about when they make decisions about laying off teachers, because you're also making children cry. As far as the school experience goes, the teachers are all that we have left. Take them away, and for us, the public schools are gone. Now, I want to tell you about one teacher who made a very special difference for us. And that teacher was Sandy Egbers, who teaches 5th grade at Rose City Park School. She not only taught the kids English and math, she taught them how to organize and plan their work. And we still see the results of that in the way Laulea goes about her work today. She covered the walls of the classrooms with cartoons cut from newspapers. She taught kids that learning was fun and not to take themselves too seriously. She taught them to respect themselves and each other. At the end of the 5th grade year, and I should say that I was the secretary of the Rose City Park PTA that year, we collected testimonials from parents who had been affected by her, and we submitted them for a $1,000 grant for teaching excellence. It was really an amazing, heart-wrenching experience to listen to these testimonies from the parents. They were vying with one another to tell the most touching and heart-wrenching stories they could and going the extra mile. And I wish I could share some of these stories with you now, but I just don't think there's enough time. But she did all of this on her own time. Now, with all this going for her, she did win the money, she did win the grant. But did she keep it? No. She put it all back into the school to replace the funding cuts that have been made by the district. And I just want to say that this kind of dedication is what makes Portland teachers so special to us. And now I'd like Jinx to talk some more.
Last week, we attended the community forum sponsored by the district to discuss the funding crisis. We went to the one at Madison High School. The district came in with a detailed document listing various kinds of proposed cuts and asked us which cuts we as parents would prefer. Virtually every parent there told them the same thing, that there was no way to solve the funding problem with cuts, that only new funding could solve the problem. It was clear that the district had spent a lot of time thinking about cuts, but had only vague ideas about where to get new revenue. If you are a school board, how do you get new funding? Not by attacking your natural allies. We firmly believe that only alliance of teachers, parents, and the school board can create a permanent solution. My husband and I firmly believe that the school board should come to an amicable agreement with the teachers and use that as a basis for a community coalition to address the funding crisis. Teachers in Portland already put in extra hours augmenting curricula because the textbooks are 15 years old. Teachers have helped students to bring in good test scores in spite of decreases in funding and support staff. And we know that at so many schools, teachers contribute an average of almost $500 out of their own pockets for supplies. As far as we can tell, Portland's teachers work miracles every day, even as their support continues to decrease. It appears to us that the Portland School Board, with apparent arrogance, expects that teachers can continue to produce top students no matter what happens to their own working conditions. It is our general understanding that the school board and its legal staff are asking for contract changes in areas that make no substantial difference to costs, but affect grievance rights, working conditions, and other. Seniority, stability, all those kinds of things matter more. I can't imagine getting up in front of a class every day for 25 years. If you're asking us to be underdogs together, then if you're asking the teachers to put wages on hold, I don't understand why all things, and I don't understand all the details, but a lot of the working rights kinds of things couldn't be waited on to, why you good board couldn't take it. Extremely inappropriate because they reduce goodwill in these difficult times that we all face together, and they'll harm our children and the entire community. How can we expect teachers to go on doing their very best when they can't afford to take their own kids to the doctor or if they've been transferred on administrative whim? A little more he'd like to say.
Just in conclusion, schools are one of the most important amenities of a community. When people move to a new area and buy a new house, they ask, how good are the schools? Not how good is the business climate or how many buildings is the school. For parents, for the teachers, and a few of the local administrative staff are the face of the schools. We feel that Portland's stability and its reputation as a city is based on maintaining its neighborhoods, and that means maintaining schools that are good for working and middle-class families. We're not surprised that the school board would ask for some wage relief in this current financial climate statewide. But the budget cannot and should not be balanced by laying off teachers and ruining their everyday work climate. This is a time when the school board should be making the fairest wage offer it can, and it should be doing its best to support teachers in every other way. When you lay off experienced teachers, you're not likely to get them back again. Their knowledge and their expertise is lost to you. When you're in the school business and you destroy your knowledge base, what have you got left? Some nice offices, a pretty building. We have uneducated children and a total disaster. We urge the Portland Area Workers' Rights Board to support teachers in their need for a fair contract. That's the only way our kids will get a good education in these difficult times.
And the next witness, we'll hear from Keith Nottage.
Thank you very much. I, like many of you, have children in the Portland School District. My kids used to go to Youngstown Elementary School. But we've embraced where we're at. We've worked hard to bring our new community, our new family together. And because of the brave, strong, wonderful teachers of Bridger Elementary and of Youngstown Elementary, we've been able to do that. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you a little mental picture. You've heard a lot of numbers, a lot of things being said. But just imagine waking up one morning only to discover that part of your family has been taken from you. The pain, the loss. You may only have had enough time each day for a quick hello, but this person is part of our family and your family, and you want what is best for them. Each weekday we entrust our precious bundles of joy with these family members. Our teachers are part of each of our families. As parents, we would never, never, never entrust our precious bundles of joy to persons we don't trust. We trust our family. Tonight we stand at a crossroads. We don't have any money, but yet other things are able to be taking place. We need to take care of those that take care of our precious bundles of joy. We need to do this in a fair and economic way that supports them, as well as the future teachers that each one of you encounter each day as you go out and sit in your classrooms, do your planning, go home, correct papers. Words such as good faith are meaningless without trust. We must have trust in each other, but trust is something that has to be earned. I don't have any magic answers. I don't think any of us do. But what these people are asking for is fairness. That's all any of us ask for, is to be treated fairly as human beings, as tax-paying people in a beautiful state of Oregon, in the beautiful city of Portland. Thank you.
And next we'll hear from Kalani Minskor. Kalani?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I just want to let you know that this body may be a little confusing to you because in actuality, though the body is old, I'm a new teacher. So I've come here to speak. I've come here to speak about why I'm here and why I made this choice. There's a long-standing love affair between teaching and myself. It reaches as far back as 4th grade, and my teacher, Miss Walker, who gave me my first glimpse of encouragement when she allowed me to mix plaster of Paris for our art project. And it then took root when she told me I had a beautiful smile. And that it sprouted when she encouraged me to stand in front of the whole school and read my Arbor Day poem. And when I faltered, she lent me her strength so that I could be in front of my peers and feel success. The choice to teach for me was deliberate. I've raised 8 children. And all of them have been educated in the public school system. And so I've seen firsthand what programs can do for kids. Firsthand what happens when children have options for feeling successful. 7 of my children play instruments as a direct result of the music programs that were offered in school. My daughter Nisi is currently pursuing a degree in music and hopes to be an educator. 5 of my children ran cross country, swam, played baseball, played water polo. My son Koa, who is 15, plays 3 different instruments because he learned them in middle school jazz band. My son James is now focusing on art in his career pathway. And my son Matt developed a love for computers and is now pursuing a degree in computer science. And finally, my son Jared is currently spending 2 years in Venezuela and speaks fluent Spanish simply because he started a foreign language at the high school level. In fact, in 1 year, we had Spanish, German, sign language, and Japanese all being learned in our home at the same time. And so I know that public school works, or at least it can still work if we continue to support what is so right about public schools. I teach 8th grade at Lane Middle School. My students would love to experience instrumental and vocal music at school. It's not available. Intramural sports, foreign language, outdoor school, green thumb. These students are facing more and more limitations on their options for being able to feel successful. And with the possible adoption of the current district proposal, students at Lane and throughout the Portland Public School areas are going to experience even more painful limitations. Students need opportunities to feel success. They need safe environments, clean classrooms, and clean school facilities. These are basic student needs. But guess what? Teachers have those same basic student needs, the same basic needs. Teachers need clean classrooms, safe environments, and clean facilities. Students need instructors' time, and instructors need time with their students. Time for both to ask questions, time for both to get answers, time for both to touch base. I believe that these are all basic needs. But even more basic to their success, students need to be in school. They need to know that those who are in charge have the students' best interests at heart. Students need to know that they are able to get the tools that they need to meet life head on. What message do we send to our students when we cut 5 weeks out of the school year and out of their education? When we take away tools from our educators that would help them help their students? I said earlier that teaching was my second career, and I chose it because I believe the words to Whitney Houston's song, "I believe that children are our future." I invested 6 years pursuing that dream and thousands of dollars attaining it. The choice to teach has come at a high cost to me and my family. But that's okay, because I believe in the value of every child. This new contract is devastating. It is punitive. It is punitive towards educators. It is punitive towards our students. Specifically, it's punitive towards women, towards one-income families, and towards senior and more experienced educators. personal note, as a fallout of September 11th, my husband lost his job. And he joined hundreds of others in the same situation and has spent the good part of last year and this year finding new employment. That meant that as a Portland Public School teacher, my insurance was the only insurance, and my income the only income. That insurance is vital to my family, and my income is vital to my family. This is my third year of teaching, and so even though the body is old, it doesn't match the salary. The salary is low. And so if the district's proposal takes place, a substantial portion of my income will be lost. And I have to work. It's not an option for me. It's not a luxury. I look toward the immediate future not knowing whether or not my family will have a home when the dust settles. Like many in the real world, I live in a paycheck-to-paycheck world. And this is made even scarier because of this proposal. I'm an educator, and I'm a woman, and I'm a mother, and I was until just recently part of a one-income family. But more than that, I still want to teach, and I just ask that they let me. Thank you.
One more witness, and then I will open for questions from the panel. Our final witness is Don Gabbage. Don, would you come forward, please?
I was told to hum before I start. That way I can get the shake out of my voice. My name is Don Gavitt, and this school year is my 11th year as a teacher. Louis D. Brandeis High School in New York City hired 6 social studies teachers in September of 1991. I was one of them. And by holiday break, only 2 of us were left. My colleagues quit for various reasons. But the impossible workloads, threats of violence, tiny paychecks, and lack of support were paramount in most decisions. Brandeis had no U.S. history textbooks and some of the lowest test scores amongst Manhattan high schools. However, we did have a metal detector that would have been the envy of most major airports. I worked at Brandeis for 2 years. I would have worked longer until I, in the words of New York City Board of Education, was excessed, also known as furloughed, or more realistically, to those of us who suffer through it, laid off. Since Brandeis, I've worked in a halfway house for recently incarcerated youth in Seattle, and in a small private school on a Caribbean island where I alone was the middle school. I left the Caribbean to come to Portland. I want you to feel the power of that statement. I left the Caribbean to come to Portland because through my own research I realized that Portland Public Schools had what I wanted and needed to keep teaching as my career. I moved to Portland because I knew I could realize my dream here. That dream was simple: living and teaching in the same community. My students and parents would be my neighbors. My son and soon-to-be daughter would be able to go to the same school I taught. I knew I would be able to do my best work in an environment where this was my future. You see, I'm trying to do something that a lot of people, even some of my fellow teachers, say I should give up on. I'm trying to support my family on a teacher's salary. I'm not crazy. I'm not trying to do this with one teaching job. I teach night school right here. My classroom's right behind this wall over here. Summer school as well. I've also been known to paint a house or two if anybody has any of that for me. While I didn't get into teaching to make money, I was counting on Portland to make this simple dream come true. Teach in a school where I would be proud to send my own children to. I found my dream at Grand High School. Go Generals! I've spent the majority of my waking hours for the last 3 years. What's ironic about the situation myself and many other teachers are in is that we are attracted to PPS because it was one of the last urban school systems where one can work in and send their children to. This is one of the beauties about having a vibrant middle class in public schools. Together they strengthen each other. The current contract offer from the district knocks my family off the bottom rung of the middle class. If we are worried about middle class flight from Portland Public Schools, please realize that some of those families fleeing will be those of teachers. I have spoken publicly about how I need to leave the district if this contract is implemented as is. I went to the California recruitment fair last week and was enticed by offers from other urban school districts that are offering phenomenal benefits and incentives in order to attract teachers. The problem, however, is I don't know if I can send my children to Oakland Public Schools. Oakland has already suffered the same fate as New York and the same fate we are flirting with here. Teachers and parents abandoning their public schools. I beg you to look at the expensive efforts being undertaken by these school districts to rebuild. It is a lot cheaper and a lot less painful to keep good public schools once you have them. Used to being supported. Thank you. All right, here we go. Now is the time where I cry. The goal of PAT is to get a contract that gives teachers hope for the future. We have families too. Public school families, middle class families, families that are invested and want to stay in Portland. I write a word on the top of the blackboard of every classroom I teach in. It is a word that best sums up what I expect my students to exhibit at all times. I ask them never to waver from this. It is a word that will guide me through a nasty and painful strike if I am forced to take such action. It is a word that I can't teach without, and if the day comes when I feel like a hypocrite to have this word on the board, I will leave the teaching profession altogether. That word is dignity.
Contract.
I'd like to thank everyone who's provided testimony here tonight. Your statements have been extremely moving. And I think that we have decided, in the interest of time, because it is 8 o'clock, that the panel will waive questions, and we are going to retire now for a few minutes to discuss what recommendations we want to adopt, and then we will be joining you in a few minutes. Thank you.
You know I work all year. How many more days is just a guess? And it's not worth it just to hear you say, hey, look, our test scores are now the best. But you say do more with less, make sure they pass some tests, and we'll be all right. When I'm there working with kids, it's all right. When I'm here, your rhetoric makes me uptight. Tight, yeah. So we needed some more expertise. You called up Goldsmith on the phone. Now he's about to pay down for his place. He needs an expert of his own. Instead of hiring some jerk, you could have hired Matt Burke and kept a good man here at home. You know we had a top-notch custodial staff until you cut them down to half. And then you fired all of them one day. Contracted strangers for half a day. It makes me nervous to see that this one just might be me, and you know it won't be you. When I retire, everything might be alright. Taco Bell needs qualified people at night, right? Yeah.
We have had a chance to consider what we've heard tonight, and we will be having a few brief remarks from our panel members, and then I will read a set of recommendations that we have adopted. And we will start at the far right, not politically, but geographically, from Lynn, please.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to thank all those who gave testimony. I appreciate your willingness and honesty of sharing and your dedication to what you're doing. These are really bleak times, very, very tough times for all of us, for our whole state. But they are not times, they do not lack hope. There's always some hope. I have to say that. I'm a pastor, and so I have to bring hope into everything. But we have to have hope, and I have hope in the dedication that I see in the teaching staffs of the schools, the testimonies I hear, the fruits of all your labors in the classrooms and in the school system and the children. I have lots of hope. But in these very, very, very difficult times, economically and so forth, there are some really crucial things that we have to address here. First of all, I believe, and I know that the teachers are voting this week as to whether to strike or not. And a strike, I can't see a strike being in the best interest of you all or the students, but I'm not here to talk you out of it. I've walked on the picket line before. I know how difficult it is. And I pray and hope and have faith that somehow this will be worked out so a strike won't be necessary. But I understand the need for dignity and respect and mutual negotiation. Mutual negotiation. When there's no money, there still are items that call on respect and dignity. And I'd like to call upon the negotiating team, the administration, the school board, and the teachers to look at negotiations with respect for each other, to eliminate the negotiators who are not educators, who do not know anything about it. Negotiators, we need people committed to the education of our children. And so I pray that all of you will take a deep breath, will hope, and will work with dignity and respect for each other and for yourselves because you need it and you deserve it. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Dick Springer.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much for being here this evening. I know our time is limited. My notes have a lot to share, but what has been shared with us earlier in terms of the testimony and your presence has been so powerful. I can tell you during the 16 years I served in the legislature, I heard from thousands of witnesses and thousands of hours of testimony on a lot of critical issues, but none has been as moving as what we heard here tonight. Like many of you, it's hard for me to experience this without a lot of the history that I've had in this community, having attended Portland Public Schools and having, during those 16 years I served in the legislature, working very closely with representatives from the school district, administration, superintendents, and most importantly, the teachers to try to guarantee, during very difficult times in the past 20 years, the very best education we could have for our kids, not only in this community, but all across the state. And it has been a daunting challenge. I think particularly of my former colleague and neighbor in the legislature, a person who I think many of you knew, Shirley Gold, with whom I served. Those of you who were privileged to know Shirley, she was a mentor to me. She was an educator and a teacher in our district, and we served together day for day, 16 years in the legislature. And I learned so much from her, and no one would take a back seat. Shirley would never come in second in terms of her dedication to the best for Portland students and for students all across the state. As chair of the Education Committee on the Revenue Committee, she fought hard every day for what was best for our kids, and I always think of her when I think of what's important and what would Shirley do in this kind of situation. And of course, I've got two students right now. I went to Cleveland High School. I attended the schools here. I've got two students at Cleveland High School. I'm thinking and recalling that my father attended Benson High School during the Depression 70 years ago. So, you know, I've got a commitment to this community, as I know you do. Just last Saturday, I marched in the rain with hundreds of other parents and students to try to save PIL sports. I'm not here to make a specific pitch, but I think you all know the value of those programs for the kids that you work with. I mean, that's what keeps a lot of kids in school. It's what keeps a lot of parents in this district, just as many of the programs that we all care about, whether it's arts, music, you name it, special programs, that all together, they make the mosaic. This makes this such a rich and valuable experience for the entire community and our kids in this state. And we've been able to save spring sports, and I hope we could go way beyond that as well. As my last years in the legislature, as we dealt with ballot measure 5 and then 47 and 50, I often told groups that, you know, the time I spent in the legislature, I was away from my family a lot, more than I'd like to admit sometimes, but I realized that the teachers at Llewellyn and So in middle school spent more time with my kids every week than I probably did. And I wanted those teachers to come to work every day feeling valued, feeling respected, looking forward to that day and that experience teaching my kids. And that, to me, is what the bottom line is all about. So I hope that the message and our recommendations will convey that message. I know that during the time I served in the legislature over 20 years ago, we went through some really tough times. That recession was no picnic either. We all took a lot of hits and cuts then, but we did survive. I remember coming to this very auditorium 22 years ago, my first session in the legislature, when it was filled with parents and students and members of the community, when we shut down 3 high schools in this town, this community, and we shut down a lot of grade schools. Those were some very tough decisions, and the community endured a lot of pain. But we did get through that experience. The next year, 1982, the citizens of this city supported increased funding for our schools. We know the people in this community, the parents, believe in our school system. We have business leaders who come forward to support our schools. I'm really counting and hoping our recommendations, working with the school board and the teachers, will lead to that. We're going to be a lot more successful in City Hall and the County Commission and in Salem if we can be united as a community rather than forcing our teachers and putting them in an adversarial relationship with the district. That's the last thing. I hate to see teachers being set up as scapegoats if they're forced to strike. We have to avoid an adversarial relationship and outcome. We have to focus on healing, and I think we need to remember, as we all do, our kids are going to look at us and learn from this experience, and I hope it can be a positive lesson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick. Next, we'll hear from Kathleen Sullivan.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thanks, Dick. That was really powerful. I want to also thank everyone who came and gave testimony tonight. It was eye-opening and refreshing to hear so many different ways of sort of explaining the same problem that we all have been looking at and dealing with in Portland. I'm not going to take a lot of time because a few more people up here need to speak, and I know it's getting late. But I have just 3 things that I wanted to say tonight. The first is I just want to thank you, teachers. you've meant a lot to me in my life, not just because I was educated, obviously, by teachers, but because of the kind of work that I've done. And there was no group larger who gave more time or gave more money to defeat the latest OCA ballot measure back in 2000. So I just want to personally thank you for that. I also want to thank you for educating our kids in Portland, for donating so much of your time. My partner is a teacher, and last year was her first year teaching. She would arrive at 6:30 in the morning and not leave school until 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. I was finding myself at Office Depot buying rulers and magic markers and loose leaf notebook paper, and she did the same. So I know that when it said you donate about $500 out of your own pocket to put supplies in your schoolrooms, I know it's true because I've done that as well. So first of all, thank you. The second thing is, I agree, and I can't remember if it was Teresa or someone else who gave testimony today or this evening, that said that the teachers are really our lifeblood of our school district, and I absolutely 100% agree with that. You clearly deserve respect and dignity. You also, and your bargaining team in particular, need to be dealt with and bargained with in good faith. I've taken classes on how to negotiate, but it's you give a little and the other person gives a little, and you try to find common ground. And that's what I think we need, because these, it's really not funny. This is an incredibly difficult time right now for our community, and you all are really feeling the pinch a lot more than most of us. I agree, you're the lifeblood. The last thing I just wanted to say, to both the PAT folks who are doing the bargaining, but also to Sue and Julia and Mark, settle now. We can't keep going on like this, and if we do and the teachers are forced to go out on strike, we are going to have a very, very difficult time convincing the voters of Multnomah County and the legislature to approve more funding for this school district, which does desperately deserve it. Thank you.
And now we'll hear from Joseph Tam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank all the teachers and parents who testified this evening. Thank you for sharing your personal experience with us. I also want to thank the 3 school board members who are here this evening. You have a chance to hear directly from the teachers. And Sue Hegmeyer, Sue, you said that the salary schedule is embarrassing. You're right. It is. So, Sue and the other 2 school board members, please do something to stop the embarrassment. Today in the Oregonian, there is an article about the school district's offer. It gives the readers the impression that all of the teachers' demands have to do with salary and benefits. From tonight's testimonies, which are very powerful, they gave a different picture. The board's proposal is, and I'm quoting, spirit breaking. Therefore, I asked the school board to carefully examine on the proposed contract language change that will not affect costs, but that will overhaul the teacher's assignment and transfer process. And please, those 3 school board members, please do not forfeit the power that you have as school board members and just leave the bargaining to the human resources administrator and the
Thank you, Joseph. And now Jonah Edelman.
I'll be brief. Can you hear me? No. Thank you all very, very much for coming. It's been a really moving night. And I want to applaud the incredible speakers for moving and thoughtful testimony from the heart. I also want to thank the 3 school board members who are here. This is obviously this is a very, very difficult time. It's an obviously incredibly difficult time to be a teacher, and it's a very hard time to be a school board member as well. And it is. It's a very hard time to be a parent. It's a hard time to be a citizen living in this community. And I moved here 4 years ago from Washington, D.C., where I grew up. And Washington, D.C. is a city where the middle class long ago abandoned the public schools. And I grew up going to the public schools at a time where we had a strike when I was in 4th grade. And it's not a situation that I'd like to see repeated in my lifetime because it hurt my faith in education and society in general, and obviously cost me months of education. It wasn't good for that community. And what's wonderful and special about Portland, and it's been mentioned so many times tonight, is the faith that we all still maintain in the school system, and it's well-deserved. The schools here, despite all the struggles, are still great, and they're great because of you teachers. And so thank you. I guess I want to just, in closing, reaffirm the opportunity that I think we have at this point to make tonight a beginning. We have 3 weeks left until something that none of us wants in the community, and no one wants, I think, in this room to happen. And up until this point, I don't think there's been nearly enough flexibility and understanding shown by the district in terms of trying to come to an agreement that really respects teachers. And that's why I chose to come tonight. But let's keep a focus as well on the points made by many of the speakers that we are going to be strongest in our ability to make the pie bigger, which is fundamentally the biggest problem here in the state, if we're all unified. And the parents clearly in this community are ready to stand up for more funding. I know you are. The larger community is too. And if we get a resolution that lets us all move forward, we'll be able to make the pie bigger with a tax increase in Portland and Multnomah County that is going to enable us to do more of what we all want to do for kids in this community, which is to educate them so they can achieve excellence. So I hope that in the next 3 weeks we really do take advantage of the opportunity that we have, and that the district really does show flexibility in areas where it can. And there are areas where it can, clearly, and they've been mentioned tonight. And that we can move forward and make this happen in March so we can restore school days this year, and so that we can have a full school year next year, and we can have some of the programs back that we all want to have for kids in this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonah. And I would also like to thank everyone who came, and also Jobs with Justice, for providing this forum tonight. Someone said, one of our witnesses said that they thought I should be the most nervous person in the room, and I have to tell you I was very nervous in agreeing to chair this panel tonight, because I knew coming in here that there were no easy answers to resolving this situation, and I also know that there is no outcome that anybody in this room will really feel proud about or good about, because we are dealing with an intolerable situation in the state of Oregon. And I want to tell you tonight that I am owning up, as one of 90 legislators, to knowing that I share some of the responsibility for that, and that I need to go back to Salem tomorrow and work that much harder to make sure that we do not make the problem any worse for the rest of this school year, and that we fight as hard as we can for the budget for the next 2 years. And I want to tell the teachers here tonight that I know you are doing the hardest job that there is in the state of Oregon tonight. And I also know that being a Portland School Board member is probably the second hardest job that there is, and that you are doing that as volunteers, and that we're relying on your dedication and your compassion to get us through this. So we need a resolution, and we need everyone in this room to work to make that happen. And I am hopeful, because I know that we only have the quality school system we have because we have patched it together by sheer love and dedication and volunteerism, and we will get through this. So now I would like to read the recommendations of our panel. The Portland Workers' Rights Board is very concerned about the ongoing crisis facing Portland Public Schools. We held this hearing to make sure that teachers' voices and perspective on their difficult contract negotiations were heard. After listening to the testimony, we take the following actions. First, the Workers' Rights Board panel calls on the school district to negotiate a respectful contract with Portland teachers. We understand that our district is facing an unprecedented fiscal crisis, which makes this round of contract negotiations especially difficult. We support efforts to find long-term solutions to providing a permanent solution to school funding in our state. Given that context, however, we believe the school district's final proposal is too regressive and will hurt students, schools, and the entire community. A respectful contract must include something that makes it attractive for Portland teachers to stay in the Portland district. And we want you to stay here. Portland teachers' salaries are the lowest of the 14 metropolitan school districts. If our teachers must take another salary schedule freeze, as well as a significant pay cut by agreeing to a furlough, then their current health benefits must be maintained. A respectful contract is one that will not erode teachers' contractual rights. In this crisis, everyone needs to give. The teachers have given and given. We find that the district has not moved to find common ground with teachers, even on non-economic issues. We intend to write a letter to the district urging such a settlement, and we will also ask to meet with district leadership and school board members in hopes of assisting in reaching a fair settlement. Next, the Workers' Rights Board panel calls on all of our elected city and county leaders to assist the teachers in settling the contract by intervening with the district in this crisis. Our panel will send letters to the city city and to the county, making the argument about retention of quality teachers and urging the city and county to encourage the district to settle a contract with its teachers as outlined in our first recommendation.
Call the Oregonians!
You know, I think they're here tonight. Thirdly, the Workers' Rights Board panel calls on the business community to step up to the plate around school funding and around issues of teacher retention. We call on the Portland Business Alliance to drop their demand that teachers give up their health benefits and support. That demand should not be held hostage in return for the business community's supportive funding solution. Fourth, the Workers' Rights Board panel calls on the whole community to come together around the retention of our teachers through this crisis and urges all community members to contact the district and the school board to make their concerns known. And finally, the Workers' Rights Board panel will produce a report from this hearing for use in public education around teacher collective bargaining issues. That completes our recommendations. I want to thank again Jobs with Justice. I want to thank everyone who came tonight, and most especially those of you who testified, shared your stories with us. We will get through this. There will be a settlement, and we need to get there and move on. Thank you very much for being here.
You know I worked all year. How many more days is just a guess? And it's not worth it just to hear you say, hey, look, our test scores are now the best. But you say 2 more or less, make sure they pass some tests, and we'll be all right. When I'm there working with kids, it's all right. When I'm here, your rhetoric makes me uptight. Tight, yeah. So we needed some more expertise. You called up Goldsmith on the phone. Now he's about to pay down for his place. He needs an expert of his own. Instead of hiring some jerk, you could have hired Matt Burke and kept a good man here at home. You know we had a top-notch custodial staff until you cut them down to half. And then you fired all of them one day. Contracted strangers for half the pay. It makes me nervous to see that this will just let me be. And you know it won't be you. When I retire, everything might be alright. You know I worked all year. How many more days is just a guess? And it's not worth it just to hear you say, hey, look, our test scores are now the best. But you say 2 more or less, make sure they pass some tests, and we'll be